What does the pineal gland feel like? Hi there guys, it's Mick and Ryan, JC, Ryan, James Cropper, and in today's video I'm going to be attempting to tell you exactly that during a story. It was something that happened whilst I was in Florida. I had a little bit of time by myself, and so I decided to use up that time by catching up on some meditations that I'd often practice. Now the meditations were a variety of meditations, all of which had one thing in common. They had me open up specific centers within my body, okay, including the pineal gland. And so you can guess where I started off on that day. I decided to lay myself down on the couch, then place my awareness within the center of my head. As I'm there, I kind of know what I'm looking out for. This phenomenon happens whenever I get really imaginative. I start to hear and feel secretions going on inside of my pineal gland. This happens because on the inside of your pineal gland are crystals, kind of like a geode crystal. And as chemical constituents such as dimethyltryptamine, DMT, as well as other hormonal constituents are released out of the pineal gland, they often get moved around over and in between these crystals, creating this kind of squelching noise. So that's what I was looking out for. I would often find myself going back and forth between keeping my awareness there and imagining things from time to time just to kind of spruce it up. That's when I became aware of the pressure building within inside of my head. It felt like I had a magnetic field in there. The force field felt like it was pushing and squeezing and contorting the pineal gland itself, lending to the movement and the rubbing together of the crystals, all the while having this fluid secrete throughout the crystals and into my bloodstream. There was a lot going on there. And while this is happening, I notice I've become quite detached from my body. I can't feel it. I'm still there. I'm still aware of my pineal gland. Matter of fact, it was like all of the attention on the rest of my body, all of my five senses just turned off to give way to this one sense, feeling the pineal gland only. I felt electrical surges throughout the pineal gland and down the stem of the pineal gland. This felt like as the current of electricity was pulsing around the pineal gland and down, it felt like there was a miniature brain inside of my head. And on top of these electrical surges, I felt the whole gland itself vibrate constantly. Okay, so you have the mounting pressure around the pineal gland, the magnetic field. This was pressing against the pineal gland, contorting it, rubbing these crystals together. You have the secretions coming out of the pineal gland, having me more and more aware of the pineal gland. And then you get these electrical signals firing around the pineal gland and down, accompanied with vibrations. At this point, I could see inside my head. And it literally looked like, again, a brain, after which me looking at the actual brain circumferencing the pineal gland. I know I'm laying on the couch, but for a second, I'm outside on the stairs. As I'm sitting there, I'm aware of what just happened. I left my body. I mean, how else would you explain it? The surge going on inside of my head, not feeling my body, and then all of a sudden, after being on the couch, being outside in an instant, I recognized the signs. I knew what was happening, and my environment was very, very evident of the fact. It was very, very bright, very, very vivid, although my peripheral was a little blurry, a little warped, to say the least. There's a word for it in Photoshop. They call it a radar effect. It's when everything kind of moves to the right, creating these long streaks either side of the camera lens. So I look behind me at the door. I get up and I go to move towards it, but then I end up back in my body. I open my eyes, these eyes, and I think, okay, let's keep going. I close my eyes again. I place my attention on my pineal gland. The engine revs up again, and I find myself this time opening my eyes and sitting up on the couch. I'm in the astral plane again. I can tell because the environment feels very, very strange, and because of the obvious person that was scratching the back of the couch. I think to myself, this is weird. There shouldn't be anything happening around me right now. I astral projected during the day, and so I shouldn't be bumping into anything scary or displeasing to the eye. And yet, I'm not alone in this room. So as I get up and I look over the couch, I see a face. I see a woman appearing from underneath the couch, which was weird because there was only a gap about 2 inches high. So to get a whole body under there didn't make sense. But this is the astral plane where everything has a non-corporeal form. We can shapeshift. We can look like one thing 1 second, then change our form entirely. We can go from being very small to very big in a matter of seconds. And that was made even more evident by the rest of her astral form kind of just spewing out from underneath the couch. Kind of grotesque looking. Bubbling, in fact. I think, okay, this clearly is a ghost that has passed on, that has lost her marbles. She didn't seem threatening, she just seemed very much disorientated while she was smiling at me and her eye was sinking into her head, the other one leaving her skull. Again, she was melting, spewing out from underneath the couch, looking at me. Very weird. So I say, yep, no, I'm fine. And I go back to my body, open my eyes. Sherazette knocks the door. She comes up, just in time. And so within that time frame that I was able to leave my body, I was able to get an idea as to what the pineal gland felt like from multiple perspectives. And I figured that if I was to shoot a video telling you guys as to the signs of an awakening pineal gland, a pineal gland that's becoming active, as well as what many of these things mean, it'll help you out. You see the secretions, that's dimethyltryptamine going into your bloodstream. Okay. The force field around the pineal gland, that happens because blood is floating up into the body, or rather being pressurized up into the pineal gland. This pressurization of the blood inside of that pineal gland causes it to swell and then shrink and swell and then shrink, at the rhythm of your pulse. I believe my placing my awareness within my pineal gland caused the blood pressure to rise within that cubic region of the gland itself, leading to this expansion as well as this deflation of the flesh. Whilst this is happening, on top of my electrical input, because we're all electricity inside of the body, so on top of me being in there as an electrical charge, a phenomenon took place. Okay? It's a phenomenon known as picoelectricity. Essentially, whenever you apply pressure to a crystal, it will shoot out an electrical charge, usually oscillating at the frequency of the crystal. And so as your pineal gland is lined within the inside, when the blood is flooding and causing pressure against these crystals, when the crystals are being squeezed against each other, that causes these crystals to become excited and then to shoot out an electrical charge. That then lends to the overall magnetic field, because with electricity comes some type of a field. And based upon the frequency of the electricity being produced within the pineal gland, that will then determine the frequency of the magnetic field around the pineal gland. That changes things quite a bit, because not only does that allow you to travel to a dimension based on that frequency that your pineal gland is hitting, but as the frequency tends to climb within the pineal gland, different chemical constituents within the pineal gland are created. Supposedly, there are 4 versions of melatonin that get created when this happens. And when that gets into your bloodstream, it changes your DNA permanently. You can't think the same anymore because you're no longer the same person in a lot of ways. And then that has a further impact on the rest of your brain. Certain things start to switch on, you become more intelligent as a being. Okay? And so the pineal gland, it's really important to trigger, it's really important to play with, because it does lead to your development as a human being. So I hope that made sense to you all. I'm Ryan James Cropper. This has been your potential. If you're interested in finding out as to what else you can do, then feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel and don't forget to hit that bell notification in order to be notified of when I next post a video. Take care, and I'll speak to you pretty soon. Peace.